for honor.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Jeff, aka Son of Mar on the PlayStation Network, and welcome to For Honor. I am doing a voiceover of the gameplay I did just a little while ago of For Honor. And this is going to give you kind of an idea of what the game is. I'm going to leave the audio somewhat noisy so you can hear the music and stuff like that, and the sound bites and whatnot. But yeah, I'll probably do my commentary throughout. But anyway, the game is pretty cool. My overall interpretation of the game is it seems like it has a pretty cool thematic to it, meaning that there's a story behind it that I'm not quite sure how it involves itself in the game, and I don't know if there's a single player. As far as I understand, there isn't, but there could be. I don't know. But that being said, as you can tell, it looks really pretty. There's a really cool dynamic of the Viking characters versus the more Crusader-like characters, the knights, and then the samurai. And right now in the alpha, there's two different types of those fields you can pick from. There's two different types of the samurai field that you can choose from. One's more of a counter-attacker, kind of agile samurai, and then you have the character I'm playing as now, which is a more damage-dealing, I guess, kind of guy. And he has a lot of good range. And then, each character has their benefits, their weaknesses, their strengths, things like that. As you can tell, you can do executions if you land the killing blow on an enemy, and you've done the majority of the damage. As far as I understand, you can do the execution, which is a really cool dynamic. Gets you a little bit more points. In the overall consensus of the multiplayer that I've noticed, at least for this mode called Dominion, is you want to push your points to 1,000. Once you get to 1,000 points for your team, you can essentially target and kill the rest of the other team, unless the other team is able to essentially stop your push, which they do so by getting more points themselves and causing basically a break. There has been times, I remember seeing some streams where there have been teams that have both been at points where essentially they're both at their push and break points, where both teams made it to 1,000 points at the same time. So both teams essentially had to kill one another off. They had no revives, and essentially whoever killed the other team completely, that was it. And it was really interesting. Again, the game is cool. I enjoy parts of it, but other times I go, this, seems cool, seems interesting. I don't know if it's for me personally, mainly because I'm not into huge multiplayer games really all that much anymore. Weirdly enough, I don't know why. And the multiplayer games I do play tend to be different. And this honestly does speak to me on some level. It has some... I know some people that have been equating it in ways to the Souls franchise. And I would tend to somewhat hesitantly agree. It does have characteristics that the Souls games do have, in the form of the counterattack, patience, things like that. I get that, but I don't see the overwhelming Souls aspect that some people are trying to make it seem like this game has, because it just doesn't. It's not. It's a different kind of beast. I don't know what I would equate this game to being like. The closest I would equate it to is almost like a Dynasty Warriors kind of game, except a lot more visceral and a lot more angry, I guess. Because the zoom in of the camera, and it's just, you have to, pick and choose how you fight, and you have to be a lot more conscious of how you kill, essentially. Like, you have to pick your guards, your attack, you have to, watch what the other guy does. It's a lot of counterattacks. It's a lot of chess movement, which is appreciated. I do think it is messy, and a lot of the mess comes from the fact this is in alpha, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. I think as an alpha, this is a pretty solid alpha. I like the mechanics of you having to go back to areas you've conquered previously to heal up. You have perks, 4 of them you can pick from, which I forgot about for the majority of this fight, as you could tell. The mini-map is pretty helpful. There's a lot of verticality and movement you can do through the maps that makes sense, like ladders in certain positions. And overall, I'm pretty impressed with the game as it is right now. I still think that them aiming for a release date, I think at the end of this year, is pretty bold, because supposedly they want this game out by like November or December. I don't think they'll make that date. I think this game will probably be a February title, making February even more busy than it already is. But it just seems like it's going to. There could be a chance that, because it is more polished than I expected it to be, that it could end up coming out in December. But I don't know. Because of the 3 or 4 matches I played, these 2 that I'm putting in here actually were full-length matches. The other 2, after about 30 seconds or a minute, they're just really bad connection errors, and I just like dropped out. Again, it's an alpha. I can't help but stress that alphas are going to have that problem. You know, and people aren't going to have the best of connections, and it's just going to break sometimes. It did suck, though. It did kind of pull me out of the mood, but, oh yeah, and here. I'll talk about this mechanic. So essentially, there's a mechanic called Revenge, where I think if you get put pretty much at your breaking point, you can, of health, you can pretty much, unload on enemies and just be unstoppable in a way, in that you can just wreck people. Which is a really cool mechanic. So, here's what I was talking about, the 1,000 meter. On the right, you see that the bots that we're fighting right now, one of them's already dead because we killed one of them when we were at the breaking point, right? Now we just dropped underneath 1,000 again, so they're not at their breaking point anymore. They can come back alive now. However, you're gonna see again once we hit 1,000 again. That's when, you know, they're put at their point where if they die during our time having a thought, yep, kill their, you know, they're breaking. If we do it, they're done. They can't come back until they're able to rout us a little bit. There are some things I wonder, you know, it'd be kind of interesting to see if there's going to be characters that have, like, ranged abilities. Again, that might be a complicated factor, but it's something that I think could be considered, where some classes have, like, a crossbow that they can activate as an ability every 30 seconds, where they can shoot someone from a distance and damage them a little bit. Because that'd be a way of, like, almost assisting your friends, where, you know, you're having a tough fight and you're getting your ass kicked a little bit by 2 people, and all of a sudden, you know, one of them gets shot with an arrow and staggers them and saves your ass a little bit, honestly. Seems like an interesting concept to me, but I don't know. That all being said, I like the map variety so far. They all make sense. They're all very pretty. You know, the game looks gorgeous, as you can tell. I mean, it looks very, very pretty. It is a fun game. It's fundamentally and mechanically sound for the most part. I haven't really ran into any issues. You have game mode, so you get experience for each character you play as, and you know, you level up each character. You get coins, which you can buy stuff like gear for your characters that you do get at the end of matches. But you can buy like bundles with these coins to get gear a little quicker, which is what I did. I had like 1,500. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy it because I was playing this on the last day that the alpha is out, and I don't know if I'll buy it. So I figured, I was like, why not? So let me get into kind of the meat and potatoes that I'm worried about for this game, though. Number one, the fact that it is seemingly a multiplayer experience. While that is a really cool idea, and while it is awesome, and I think the fact that it being a multiplayer game first is a smart idea, it needs to consider. I hope they're considering a solo experience of some sort, whether it is, you know, just a straight up like you versus AI, you know, fleshed out little story moments, but not really a campaign. Because I think there is still a huge subsection of people like me that do care about solo experiences. Because this game does play really well. And I'm hoping that they consider that. But we'll see if Ubisoft does it. Because Ubisoft has been a weird company the last 5 years. They're taking a break from Assassin's Creed because honestly they burnt the fuck out of Assassin's Creed. You know, Syndicate and Unity were not great games. They're okay to good games, I guess, but Unity was very, very buggy and didn't become a good game until a long time later, honestly. It took a long time for Unity to become something good, but whereas Syndicate was actually a pretty good game, but it just, I think people were just burnt out on Assassin's Creed by that point, but that nevertheless, you know, doesn't mean much, you know, because when you look at the track record of Assassin's Creed, at least from my point of view right now, I look at Assassin's Creed and I go, okay, Assassin's Creed, you know, the first one was alright, the second one was great, Brotherhood was solid, Revelations was okay, Assassin's Creed 3 was okay, it was not very good, I mean, story-wise, but it had some cool concepts to it. Black Flag was great, Unity, not very good, Rogue was alright, Rogue was actually not bad at all, it had some cool concepts, and I think that should have been the game that was on the current generation versus Unity, but that's my opinion. And then Syndicate was alright. Well, I played Syndicate, it was okay. But again, franchise fatigue. So I'm glad Ubisoft learned from that. I'm glad they're learning for Watch Dogs, even though Watch Dogs 2 does not look very good to me personally, for whatever reason. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, Watch Dogs 2 does not seem resonating to me. But it does seem like they learned a lot from Watch Dogs 1, and I'm proud of that. But it just, again, Ubisoft seems like a weird company because we haven't heard anything about a Splinter Cell sequel to Blacklist. Not even a remaster for the current generation, which I think a lot of people would be okay with. I would be okay with it. But not a word about it, which sucks because Splinter Cell is an amazing franchise. It really is. And there hasn't really been word on a lot of other Ubisoft titles. Like, there hasn't been really any word on if there'll ever be another Rayman game. The Ghost Recon game looks solid, but there's no real word on how that's going development-wise. It's just, Ubisoft is a solid company. They have a lot of great ideas, but they also make a lot of weird choices, too. And a lot of weird errors. And they did for a while there, with The Division being what was, and Watch Dogs being what was. It just seemed for a while there, Ubisoft was losing its idea of things. But For Honor is a great representation, I think, of Ubisoft as a studio and a company, learning from its, you know, couple years of mistakes and its PR marketing and everything, and understanding what their audience is looking for in the game that they're excited about. And For Honor is pretty much on board and on point what the fan base is looking for in terms of the people are excited about this game and the people are interested in this game, such as myself. This is a solid game. It is a solid game. It fundamentally works. It looks gorgeous. You know, people that might say the Ubisoft downgrade, I haven't seen it in this. It might happen with a full tail release, but right now it looks gorgeous. It looks beautiful. It looks great. And that's exciting. Because I remember playing The Division, and, you know, The Division was probably the worst case of downgrading by Ubisoft. It was kind of sad how that all worked out, but this game really looks beautiful, plays great. I keep repeating myself, I keep harping on that, but it just makes me happy that this game is fulfilling the status quo, if you will, for the gamers that are excited about it. And it's authentic. It's authentically good, and I'm hoping that it ends up being great. That all being said, you know, my interpretation of the game, I don't know if I'm going to get it at launch. I probably won't, honestly. Just because I don't know if this is the kind of game for me personally, even though I really did enjoy playing it. There are too many other games that interest me more, that speak to me more. You know, there's just too many other games that are better in my mind, that are going to be better, that are going to be more interesting, that make me want them more, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I sit, sadly, but anyway, yeah, so this is the gameplay. You know, the game is great. If, you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. You know, I did ramble a lot, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of what the game is, you know, with footage in the background, you know, it's a few minutes of me playing, you know, whatnot. And in a few minutes, I felt fun, but overall, hopefully you guys, you know, are interested in this game. I recommend it to people that think it's cool, that like the concept and everything. And I hope you guys like it. Hit the comments if you guys have a suggestion on what you guys want to see next. And, you know, hit the like button, hit the sub button. You know, we love each and every one of you guys, you know. And if I had to compare this to the last alpha that I played in terms of, you know, Battlefield and Neo, those are the last two alphas I've played. Neo was definitely my favorite. Battlefield was solid. This was probably on par with Battlefield in terms of like quality and in terms of just fun. But Neo was definitely my favorite. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of this episode. Hopefully you guys learned a lot from this. You know, hopefully this gives you an idea of what For Honor looks like. If you guys want or have any questions, again, hit the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.